Well, welcome to today's episode. Today we're joined by Cindy Free. Cindy is the CEO of HR Annie Consulting, a Portland-based HR firm helping hundreds of businesses build strong, compliant, and people-first workplaces. Under her leadership, HR Annie has become a trusted partner for multi-location food, beverage, and retail brands, offering full-cycle HR, recruitment, and training solutions. A forward-thinking entrepreneur, he blends human connection with technology, most recently exploring how AI can make hiring, leadership, and HR practices more transparent and human-centered. So Cindy, welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And for those of you just joining the podcast, we at Strativa AI help businesses scale their revenue over 12 months using AI. So if you'd like to learn how to take your business to the next level, make sure to stick around for future episodes. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth into the DMs. So again, Cindy, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Can you share a little bit more about the story of how you came into recruiting with HR Annie and kind of what, brought you to where you're at today?
I'll talk a little bit about our origin story because people often call me Annie, and Annie's actually my mom. And
Yeah.
my mom is going to be 80 years old here in a few weeks.
Wow.
She started HR Annie as a retirement job. So she was 65 years old. She tried to
Huh.
retire from a career in HR and got bored. She has a lot of energy, got bored, and started to just take on a couple of clients to help them with HR support. And then a couple years later, I joined her so that she could retire at the pace she wanted and I could grow the company. So as they say, the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. And I had gone into HR kind of through the training route. So I did a lot of employee training and development. And so it was just a really neat way to collaborate with my mom so she could do what she wanted to do and I could do what I wanted to do in terms of business. So here we are, 15 years later. We have 14 employees. We do anything to help companies with HR. So if you think about the whole employee life cycle from thinking of hiring someone to somebody leaving the organization and everything that happens in between in that employee experience. That's what we do.
Fantastic. And so it sounds like you had a bit of a background before you came on board with your mom. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I started my HR career pretty early, and then that just expanded to doing HR for other organizations. I also owned a couple other businesses and, fulfilled the HR duties with that, but also that entrepreneurial spirit that lived within me to eventually own this company and grow it.
I love it. That's fantastic. And so I remember when we had Elise on from your company, and she was going into a little bit of the details about how you guys are both in the HR space and then also the recruiting space. Could you develop that more and help the audience understand maybe like the two services, the two
Yeah,
sectors that you
of
serve there?
course. And actually, we have a third service too, which is training and development. So,
Oh,
what's happened over the evolution of my company is that helping people with HR included hiring. So, for many, many years, as part of whatever else we were doing to help them with HR, we would also be doing recruitment. And so, we hired hundreds of people over the years. And
yeah.
it became such a big part of that HR support that we actually kind of moved to having a dedicated channel just for recruitment. And so at this point, we have 3 full-time recruiters plus a contract recruiter that we'll probably end up hiring. And then the same thing happened with training. And so we would be doing manager development or manager training or rolling out a new process that we had developed for the client. And we wanted to make sure that the managers knew how to execute on that process. And we started building out basically this repertoire of common trainings and then tailoring them to our clients. And so over the years, we thought, well, we might as well just start to sort of, again, kind of section off this other revenue stream essentially and have a
Sure.
training channel. And we do a lot of employee training, leadership training, a lot of required compliance training. And we actually just launched a online training platform last spring, which is pretty
Ah,
exciting. So,
that is
so
exciting.
we have HR consulting, training, and then we have recruitment. And so with the recruitment side, then we built that out to be able to do recruitment consulting. So just helping people build out their own recruitment infrastructure
Hmm.
to full cycle recruitment. So they want us to do everything, soup to nuts.
Yeah.
And then we also have candidate services, and that's through a kind of a sub channel called True Calling Recruitment. So we actually work directly with job seekers to help them prepare and build confidence and competence in their job search.
Wow. And so with the first three, are they always associated with one of your client companies, or may there be some recruiting that you do for a company that's like not involved, like that you're not doing HR stuff for?
Right. At the beginning, when we were a little bit smaller, I would say we were mostly referral based through our clients. So if we were
Hmm.
working with a client and they needed recruitment, we'd do the recruitment for the client. As it's evolved to its own channel, is how we describe it.
Yeah.
We now get clients, yeah, that they come directly to us just for recruitment. But what's pretty cool is at the end of the day, we're an HR consulting company. And
Yeah.
so we're a little bit different than the traditional recruitment agency because we've built in a lot more processes and sort of that handoff between now you've hired the person and what's that employee experience going to look like? And is there anything that we can help you with now that they're an employee? So robust onboarding infrastructure or, communication and performance, and culture stuff that just applies for employers to be able to take good care of those employees. And so we actually have a really great retention rate with the people that we find for our clients
That's
because
huge.
we're just nosy enough that we think if there's anything else we can do now, we're here.
Right. Well, and that's so relevant these days as AI permeates into so many different things, like having that interested partner to
Yeah.
really vet out the potential employees, right? Go through the candidates to find like those true matches, and then also serving the client beyond that for further HR stuff and just maintaining that human connection is coming more and more vital these days. 100%.
It is. And we've always been a company that provides tailored and customized support for our clients.
Okay.
And so I'm excited to talk more about AI and how we're sort of balancing those two components of embracing this technology, but making sure that we don't compromise our own values of providing that really human experience. And that's the experience that we want our clients to provide to their employees too.
Sure, sure. So, can you share a story about how you navigate that space of maintaining the human touch, but
Yeah.
then coupled with some sort of AI, either that you're using within your business or that either the candidate or the client in HR is somehow interacting with?
Yeah. So this year has been just kind of wild
Mm.
how much pivoting we've done in regards to AI and technology.
Really?
Yeah, and I say that because we're a very strategic driven organization. So when I joined Annie in 2012, we kind of got through that first couple of years. And in 2014, we hired somebody to do strategic planning for us. And we did a 10-year outlook. So that took us all the way to 2024, which at the time, of course, seemed like a really long ways away,
Right, forever.
right? At that time, and all of the years to up till 2024. We've always done strategic planning and technology conversations came into was part of strategy, but AI wasn't a conversation we were having. And last year in 2024, we did strategic planning and we mostly did the heavy lifting for that in December of 2024.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't have anything about AI on our strategic plan. We had some technology initiatives, but we
Okay.
weren't specifically calling out AI. In January of 2025, so in a month later, Elisa, who you were mentioning, she heads up our recruitment channel, and she just kept talking about how she was using AI and some of the things that she was doing, and I was dabbling in AI and some of the things that I was doing, but it
Uh-huh.
wasn't something that we had fully introduced to our team, or we didn't have any real process around it. We hadn't established any systems that we were going to dedicate ourselves to or anything like that.
It just kind of caught your attention.
Yeah, and Elisa was latching onto this for the recruitment side and thinking, gosh, there's got to be a better way to, take consolidated notes when we're doing screening interviews, or maybe we can use AI to help us draft job ads or job descriptions or send summaries to our clients. And then we were launching a new applicant tracking platform that we're using internally. Gosh, there's got to be some ways that we can use this tool to integrate with LinkedIn Recruiter to help source candidates, So it was
Sure.
just a lot of curiosity and learning.
Hmm.
And so when I identified this thing that Elisa was doing over here, I kept asking her, can you show me what you're doing? Like, do you have any ideas over here on the training platform? Do you have any ideas over here on the consulting side? And she would just light up, and
Right.
I would just light up. And then I started feeling like I was asking her to kind of do more than she should, and I was
Uh-huh.
sidelining her from other projects and let's do this AI stuff. And honestly, I just started feeling kind of bad.
Like, am I overworking my own
Yeah,
employee?
am I asking too much? And
Yeah.
also, I'm a member of entrepreneur organization. I'm not sure if you've heard of EO. It's an
No.
international organization, and there's a
Okay.
lot of learning components that happen in EO. And more of my colleagues were starting to talk about AI, and I was just kind of getting overwhelmed with it, but I loved it. And so I really started thinking about how, as an owner, I was feeling this really big responsibility to figure it all out. And then I looked at what Elisa was doing and I thought, this lights her up. And then I listened to what other people were talking about. And I started listening to other podcasts and getting all of this information. And I realized we have a real opportunity here to
Right.
not be on the tail end of something. We don't need to be the trailblazer, creating everything, but we need to know how we're going to use this in my organization. And then I realized, and by the way, our clients are going to start asking us, do you have an AI policy we should have in our handbook? Do you know much about
Right.
how do we know what our employees are using? What should we tell them? And I realized we're going to need to also serve our clients in this topic as well. And
Yeah.
so the best decision I made early this year, despite our whole strategic plan being ready to launch, was to pull Elisa intentionally into a technology manager role.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't in a position where I could completely take off that recruitment manager hat, but I wanted her to be able to dedicate some time to helping us build out the infrastructure that we needed. And it's been amazing. And so um one of the one of the things I wanted to make sure we were doing was being really intentional about how we were going to do it. So
Mm.
we may we may be moving slower than some organizations because I want to make sure we are doing it as intentional and as well as we can,
Sure.
and that we're not getting sort of bogged down in this information overload and all the noise of AI, and that we're
Yeah.
allowing ourselves to be agile through this process because the technology just keeps advancing all along the way.
So quickly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I can dig into how we're starting to implement it with the work that we're doing, and some of the future of our AI and technology strategy as well, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's have at it. And definitely love to cover what you guys may be doing in the future. And coupled with, are you making those decisions based on something that you're seeing and experiencing within like your company and your client interactions? Or is it driven more on a kind of like esoteric level of like trying to predict trends and seeing how, like, you're wanting to take your strategic approach to things, but saying, like, okay, as you've like almost finished up, right? 25, it's like, okay, our feet are wet. Like, we're in this now, right? And so, like, how are you thinking it strategically? Based off of what you've sort of experienced and what you think are next steps? Or are you going to, like, these are the trends as we've researched it based on either HR, recruiting, and like that's where we want to play?
Yeah. That's a great question. So, whenever there's a big decision that we have to make, and it's kind of confusing because there's so many things you can do, right?
Right. Yeah.
We look at our values first and foremost because that's just the thing we can fall back on to make sure we're staying true to who we are. So,
Yeah.
as much as I want to embrace this technology and I love technology, I also want to make sure that's balanced with the fact that we are a company that helps build tailored and custom HR solutions, and that each client, each company, each employee in that company is their own unique company, client, employee that has their own unique needs. And I think
Yeah.
that's what makes us remarkable and successful. So when we started to develop what we were going to do with AI at HR Annie, there's always this parallel because we're an HR company. I'm a small, business owner, and we work with other companies that are small to mid-sized business owners. So I always kind of want to be like the example,
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
do this, you can have this, you can hire a technology manager, you can, whatever, take your team on a retreat. I'm always trying to be a really good example of an employer who wants to take good care of their team, and you can do it, right?
Nice. Yeah.
So
And
there's
that
this
translates through.
values
They get
that
that.
I'm not willing to sacrifice the ability to be that example to our clients, but also that's how I want to treat my employees and run my company.
Sure.
So we actually sat down to do an AI technology strategic plan. It was like, well, no brainer. We jumped in like we normally do strategic planning, like grab your sticky notes and throw them on the wall. And then Elisa was like, maybe we should use ChatGPT to help us. And we literally had our technology strategic plan done in about 2 hours.
Wow.
And we had scheduled the entire day
I was
to do.
going to say versus, yeah, what were your expectations? Okay. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So right there, it was like there's this huge time savings, and we used it right out of the gate as a thought partner.
Hmm.
And we started thinking, well, how else can we use it as a thought partner? Right?
Yep.
So one of the first things we also knew would be important was who in our company might be also dabbling in this, or who might be the early adopters of AI utilization. And then who in our company might be more intimidated by it, or a little bit more resistant to it, or a little bit more, less likely to get on board. And
Yeah.
so Elise actually did a survey
Okay.
of our team. And when we're a small team, but this could be replicated in, probably any size company, but I like this for a small to mid-sized company. So we did a survey and basically just knew we had a lot to learn. And so we wanted to know, what are you using? How do you like it? What do you think about AI? What questions do you have about AI? How could we had everybody put a little sticky note, on their computer that said, how could AI help me with this?
No, nice. Yeah.
And it started to build this data around it so that we could build out how are we going to start chipping away at what we want to do this year. So we've really mostly focused internally this first year. So we started to think about, what do we need to learn?
Hmm.
So what platforms do we need to research? At conferences, or what events, or what podcasts, for example. What do we need to listen to? Who do we need to reach out to? Who are our resources? How do we learn? And I sent Elisa to an AI conference to try to learn, and what do we need to learn about our employees? And that actually offered us, the next step was to start to decide, what do we need to do? And then once we decided what we needed to do, we were able to say, okay, and what cadence can we start doing this at? And keep in mind, she's still got this other hat that she's wearing with
Right.
equipment, right?
Yeah.
So our dreams were big and exciting. I want everyone to have an AI agent when they started HR Annie, and it's a little tool, and we can connect it to our internal data storage. So instead of our consultants saying, "Does anyone have a policy on inclement weather or something in California?" It's like they can just go into this little agent and it'll search our entire database and be like, "Here you go."
Yeah.
And all these big, cool things, but what we really needed to do first was make sure that we were implementing things for our team to use that would make their jobs easier, more efficient. They could see the value in it, so it wasn't something that we were telling them they have to do, but something that we were offering them that they could use. And so a couple of examples of that on the recruitment side is they started to be able to do it in some of those ways I shared a few minutes ago. They were able to, we had somebody that, no big deal, but they just sometimes people take a longer time to write.
Yeah.
Other times people write, it's really fast, but by being able to offer AI to take interview notes for you and then summarize the interview and then send that to the client, shaved off a lot of time for that employee who used to take a lot of time and make sure it was all perfect and ready to go. And being able to use it to help draft job descriptions or job ads. And then, of course, we're tailored and customized. So we put the final 15 or 20% on that. So it's still us
Yeah.
or our clients. Those were some examples on the recruitment side. On the consulting side, we might spend 5 hours when we get a new client and we do what we call an HR analysis, and we have a hour and a half meeting with them and we go through all their HR infrastructure and we take, tedious notes, and
Right.
then we have a template and we put it into this review and recommendations report, and then we make it look pretty. And that takes sometimes 5 or more hours to do that.
Sure.
Now we can record the intake call. We can have AI put it into our template. We can spend, maybe 30 or 45 minutes putting the final customized touches on it
Hmm.
and get it to that client.
Yeah.
Right? I was sharing a story with you earlier about how and I know this is the huge premise of your business, how we can use AI to create opportunities where then we can spend time doing even other valuable things outside of work. And I was sharing with
Exactly.
you that I was sitting at my mom's kitchen table. I had an RFP in front of
Yep.
me. RFPs are tedious,
Right.
and it would usually take me 3 or 4 hours to do an RFP. And I took the RFP, I took our service overview, I linked our website. I thought, I'm gonna just play around with this and see if, if Copilot can put this together for me real quick. And I gave it a prompt. I said, take all of this, take this other RFP we've done, take out any personalized information, and put this RFP together. And I was sitting there talking to my mom because she needed to go run an errand because her husband is sick and I
Mm.
needed to be there to help him.
Yeah.
And the RFP was done. And then
Done.
I spent about 30 minutes again putting the final touches on it, making sure it was HR Annie, tailoring it to the potential
Sure.
client. And then I sat and I had a 2-hour conversation with
That's
my
great.
mom's husband about him. And my mom was out going and getting her nails done and just having time
Right.
herself. That was that was never possible before AI. And
You would have been nose to grindstone.
grateful. I would have been sitting at the kitchen table ignoring him,
Yeah.
working,
Right. Right.
period.
Yeah.
And there would be no other solution. And I think there are stories like that over and over again. And I love sharing stories like that.
Yeah.
And that's a personal story, but in the workplace, it's the same thing. I don't want my employees to work more than 40 hours a week. I know that's old school, cool, whatever. People used to brag about it.
Yep.
That's not the culture I want. But my employees are so loyal and dedicated that they might do that and just not even complain or tell me about it.
Mhm.
If I can offer them the opportunity to consolidate their work or make it more efficient, heck yes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So moving forward, what we're wanting to do is build out some specific agents, some specific tools
That
for
was my next question.
processes that
Yeah.
we're doing internally, just like I just described, things that we do repetitively, but they don't need to take that long anymore. So
Yeah,
it's
because
just
if you
not
build out
something.
like Agent Bob to always do one sort of task,
Yeah.
then that saves even more time of instead of taking the time to build up the prompts and to be like, oh yeah, I remember we use this here and this sort of stuff, and then you overlay things in. When you have those agents in place, then you could just plug it in for whatever work use
Mhm.
case that you're talking about,
Yeah.
and then take that output that much more efficiently and put it into the next part of your process of whatever it is that you're working on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so where we started was talking to our team about it, learning what they're doing, figuring out what their comfortability level was, and being a really good resource for them to start using the tools that we were deciding to introduce in the company.
Yeah,
I mean, the very first step was me being a smart owner and realizing that I don't have to do this all by myself,
right.
that it doesn't have to be so overwhelming, that this will somehow take a job away, that it'll be oh, this is gonna pass and, AI won't be around or it won't be as everybody's making a big deal out of it, or trying to bite off too much all at once, or also just trying to decide on, okay, what are we gonna use?
Yeah,
Because these tools, everybody's sort of leapfrogging each other with these different
totally.
systems, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah,
now one's better at this. Oh, now that one's good at this, but this one's better at that. So, not overly committing to a tool and just remaining agile, which I really think means that companies right now, in order to adopt this the most effective ways that they can, they really what I'm seeing as a trend is actually bringing this new internal role into organizations. It's not your CTO, but it's like an AI implementer or a technology coordinator or kind of a liaison in your company to help the team sort of bridge bridge all the things together
mhm.
and have that internal resource, or hiring, a company to help them have a liaison to help build these out if they're not like me, can't hire a technology manager.
Yeah.
But lean
Yeah,
into
I mean, years ago, they never had a CAIO, right? It was like, what was that? And now they're popping up. They're things and they have, the big companies have entire departments underneath the CAIO of
yeah,
whatever, developers or users or something, but
yeah,
it's, involved with some marketing,
yeah.
customer service, right? And that new C-suite individual
Mhm.
is a thing.
Yeah,
It's
it's a real
definitely a
thing.
thing. And when small and medium-sized businesses use it, then like when they're kind of employing that role, yeah, they may be termed something else like
Mhm.
CTO or something, right? Or all the way down to to the solopreneur. They're like wearing all those hats, but
Yeah.
it's absolutely a component that is becoming vital in businesses' success.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it reminds me of when we meet a new client and that owner, we say, "Who's been doing your HR?" And they're like, "Oh, it's me." And I do
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
marketing and I do the finance and
Right.
we're like, "Okay, we can help you."
Yeah,
You
right. Exactly. Sit down, have a glass of water.
help you. You
Where's it
know,
hurt the most?
I think, with the trends or the fears or the rumors that we hear about AI in organizations with, is it going to take jobs away? And, yeah, it might if people don't adopt it. I mean, in the same way people had to adopt the internet or adopt computers or adopt different digital filing systems. I mean, if you resist it, then yeah, it might take your job away at some point. The younger, the next generation of career professionals, this is just their world. They're going to be applying for jobs because these are new jobs that are
Yeah.
created or job descriptions just look different. But I hear about, today I haven't read this yet, but somebody was telling me that Amazon was gonna lay off 14,000 people and that they're being replaced by, basically artificial intelligent robots and things that are picking and packing and doing these things, and that is
Okay.
probably true, right? Like a person's coworker is a robot, in the warehouse. I'm hearing those
Yeah,
things.
that tends to be a little bit more feasible as far as jobs that are manual that can be replaced with automation.
Mhm.
I mean, we've had that's been going
Mhm.
on for a while. I think it's at the next
Mhm.
evolution of it, right? I mean, there's been robots in factories and stuff for a long
Yeah,
time.
exactly. But I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and one of the speakers, they were great. They're an AI company. They're, colleagues with all the big AI companies, all the biggest leaders in the world of AI. And they were talking about how a CEO sold their company for $300 million and they were the only employee.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
made me sad because I thought, who wants to be alone? You know,
Uh-huh.
who wants to not have people around them? I think we have a little bit of a loneliness epidemic right now.
Oh, yeah.
And even if it was just somebody that really had a big ego, they'd still want somebody to brag about. Like, we need people around. So this idea that it will completely take jobs away and that people won't exist and things like that, I think that's kind of a myth. But I do think that I do believe that companies need to embrace it in their organizations, both within how they're running their companies and what their employees are utilizing, but then how, depending on their industry, how they're offering it to their clients. So
Hmm.
for us, like future wise, sort of externally, we're building out some technology so that our clients can access certain things in a more automated way. So even though we're always like, "Hey, if you need a real human, we're right here."
Hmm.
If they want a template or a guide or a policy or watch a webinar or, just a quick self-help or something like that, we'll have the capability of using AI to help them self-serve, in that way.
Hmm.
And also our ability to introduce how they might develop some best practices in their own organization. So, again, being that example of how you can do this in your own company. With a
Mm.
lot of the learning that we've been doing and the way that we're taking our time to intentionally implement this at HR Annie
Yeah.
and having a technology manager, then her role will continue to expand. I feel like we're hitting that 200 level now. We're
Hmm.
kind of at the 100 level, and now we're starting to just hear the same things over and over again, and now we're realizing we have this opportunity to share information that other people go, "Oh, wow, that's good,"
Yeah.
For us, it's not that different than if we were building out a safety infrastructure for somebody,
Sure.
or performance management structure or a
Yeah. It's just
structure.
a different avenue.
It's just another piece of the HR infrastructure now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you guys could absolutely build on it as a service offering
Mhm.
for these clients. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. What
yeah.
about internally for you guys, your team? Are there any still very manual things that you were like, I wish this could be automated?
Oh, we yes, and it's really just our ability to move as fast as we wish we could move.
Mm,
So, we've decided that because we're a Microsoft-based company, we'll start to migrate more into the different Microsoft products so that we can build AI around internal search tools and things like that to access all of our documents and all of our IP and things that are going to make it easier for our consultants or our other team members to do their work. We do a lot of searching, a lot of searching in files, and we have, a lot of guides and templates and starting points for the work that we're doing. And then we customize it and tailor it for a client. We have a lot of client work that we've done that we have in our
yeah,
databases, and that's already work that we've done, but sometimes that, like, looking for it or as our team grows, knowing that somebody else has already done it, that redundancy of doing the same work that's already been done, AI is going to be able to really, really help us. And even moving forward, I think 2026 will be a faster paced build out year for us because I can dedicate more of Lisa's time to all of these things. But building out our own agents that will support each consultant with the work that they're doing that's sort of tailored to them as individuals will be something that we're doing. And then building, like we talked about a bit ago, building out some specific agents to help make some of those larger projects, to consolidate the amount of time that it takes to do some of those larger projects. And then what's exciting is, we don't know what the next thing
Right.
necessarily will be. There's no experience to draw back on because it's all still being developed. And so there's potentially even an opportunity to look at developing some customized HR AI solutions. That's part of our longer term technology strategy. We've always been at I'm proud of this, but we've always been at the forefront of the HR industry. And
Nice.
and so you know, it's been a blessing and a curse. During the pandemic, nobody knew who to call about anything. And even the Department of Labor or, OSHA, they didn't know what we were doing. So we were helping build that stuff out for them.
Right.
And people were calling us. So I love that about my team. They're pretty amazing at getting stuff done and accomplished. So I'm really excited about the fact that maybe we move from this let's research and figure out what we need to learn, decide, and do to now where I think we can be more of a thought partner to maybe by the end of next year, people will really lean on our expertise and we'll be an
Yeah.
expert. And I think AI complements that. AI can be something to help you figure out what you need to do and decide. It can be a great thought partner. And it's even turning into being a pretty good thought expert. Yeah. What I'm probably not leaning as far into with AI are, I don't know if I can imagine a scenario where you and I are doing a podcast and it's really just not me. you know,
Right. Yeah. The whole avatar
sounds
thing.
like me and it's just an avatar.
Yeah.
We've talked about that with, recruitment trends and things like that, or,
Yep.
automated marketing, voicemails or emails and, things that literally look and sound like a person and they're trying to be, a person. We know it's an avatar, but it's for all intents and purposes, it's adding like when people say, I wish I could just double myself.
Right. Yeah. That's true. It's
It's happening,
literally what's going
right?
on.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm totally on board for that. That doesn't align with our values, but it's interesting to see. It's fascinating to
It
really.
is. Yeah, it's very interesting. And it's the invitation is like to have the perspective where, as you're building these agents to go to work for you, they become in essence a vital
Mhm.
employee,
Yeah.
right? And there's people that are even taking it to the next level of like giving the agents rights and having a whole I don't know. You're right on the forefront, but
Yeah.
like with HR and agents, who knows where that may go literally as far as
Yeah.
having them, used appropriately, for them working in safe spaces, for them, I don't know what, like not being overutilized. Who knows? I'm just like
Mhm.
thinking off the cuff here, but
Mhm.
that it is definitely becoming more and more prevalent to just use agents. And then again, as we're using them, what is it affording us to be able to do?
Mhm.
And so if it's just sending out greetings, reminder to like current clients of XYZ in an upcoming project, or if it's a happy birthday sort of thing, those sort of
Mhm.
things, like most people don't take the time to do all those little things. And if you're able to do those little things such that like it's helping you stay top of mind with a customer, or if it's just taking that little bit of work off the plate again, as we were talking about, where it's giving you that time back
Mhm.
so that ideally you're using it in the most positive way, whether that's taking your work to the next level, or if you're truly able to like detach and then spend that family time,
Yeah.
right? and having it be really optimized like that.
Mhm.
Because when you think about the idea of like just a full-on human clone, whether it's like an avatar visually or something like that, or even like we were talking about with robots, then you get into the realm of like, okay, this is all just being done for me. And so people decide to do less because they think
Mhm.
that more is getting done. And so that's inviting the like cognitive downloading, the atrophy, the everything is just going to be taken care of
Yeah.
mindset versus using it as a tool. So to up level your thinking to become more productive or to become more engaged with family, friends, community, right? And so it's like navigating that space of what we're all comfortable with, like tasking the AI to do. And
Mhm.
then what's the result? What are we taking out of it, like beyond it? Like not just what's the result, but what do we do with that result?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think all of that is things that we're all thinking about. And it reminded me that, one of the first things we also did this year was we created an AI policy for our team. And we kind of baked it into our overall like IT policy, right? And
Okay.
now it's just another piece of how we use technology in our company.
Sure.
But also wanted to kind of create a model that we could use to for our clients, right? Because now they're asking us for these things
Yeah.
too.
Perfect. Yeah. That's great.
And and I think it's one of those policies when we rolled it out to our team or when we're rolling it out to our clients that we're saying, this is probably one of those policies that is going to need to be reviewed
Right.
every few months for a
Frequently.
while,
Yeah. Yeah.
And what we asked our team to do is just to start to use AI 4 to 5 times in their workday. Personally, whatever they're doing, right? But 4 to 5 times in their workday. Whether that's, yes, to use as a reminder tool to do something nice for somebody, right? Or
Yeah.
to help make an email look a little, have the tone that you want it to have, or check for grammar, or to practice it for a process or a project that could make your job more efficient, right?
Yeah.
Or just to play around with a tool to see what it's all about, like to get out of whatever, a habit of using Chat GPT and lean more into Copilot because they know we're heading in that direction, at least for now.
Sure.
Just start using it a few times a day so that we can start to establish the habit of using it and the confidence that people need to feel comfortable and competent using it. And then that makes the company things that we're doing easier when we introduce a new tool or a new process or a new policy, or hey, now you actually need to start using this.
Yeah.
So they're adopting it in the work that they're doing. And then we actually have a weekly virtual, just open if you have any questions about technology, including AI. Elise is just working, and if anybody logs in, she's there to help them. So if they need individual support, or maybe they didn't want to say in the meeting, like, I feel dumb, I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure. Sure.
Or can you help me build a little agent for myself, or, whatever. Can you help me link it to my email so I can have it that way, in there now? She's available for that. And then once a month, we've been just having a stand-up meeting where Elisa is able to say, okay, here's our bigger plan. Here's what we've been working on. How's that going? Get some feedback on that. Okay, here's what's going to happen in the next month or two. And, here's what you need to know. Here's what we expect. Here's how we're going to measure it, or whatever that thing might be. And
Right.
so we've been very lucky to have the buy in that we
Uh-huh.
need, and because I'm not trying to get people to drink the Kool Aid, that's
Yeah.
not a sustainable goal. I want them to see how it adds value to the work
Value.
they're doing. And then
Right.
they are, because we're consultants, they're more inclined to share their experience with the people that we're working with in these other organizations so that they can adopt AI and feel more comfortable and maybe if we're lucky, use us as a role model.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, because there definitely is a degree of fear factor. You've
Yeah.
got the two camps of like, love it, all in, then I'm afraid and it's going to take over the world, doom and gloom, right?
Mhm.
And then there's the people that are using it more than others. And it's as things always kind of do, right? They settle down in the middle. Not to say that it's always going to be super dynamic, but yeah, I think that you're in a great position so to be able to impact people's lives using it both internally and then also as the forward facing with the clients or the candidates. There's just so much room for opportunity there in just the service and delivery of what you guys do, let alone where you can go into a company, right? And like on the HR side and
Mhm.
really help them to affect change and,
Yeah.
potentially roll that into the services that you guys offer in a super beneficial way for you
Right.
and for them, and that you could duplicate, right? From at least the framework of it from client to client. Lots of potential.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I do feel like we have the opportunity to use it in our own my own company, trying to create like a really solid infrastructure for it. And then we do have the ability to help other people implement this in their organizations just from a piece of HR infrastructure, right? So they
Right.
have something. And a lot of times that's what we're able to do is we can create really good infrastructure. If they want like a robust AI technology program, they're going to reach out to somebody like you, right? Because that's what you do for a living.
Right.
But we can get people pretty far in all these different pieces of HR infrastructure.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then if they want to take it to the next level, then we know, we're resourceful. And that's one of the things I actually respect about business owners and entrepreneurs. The ones that I respect the most are those that I know are really resourceful. And they're also not trying to do everything. We know kind of where our area of expertise is, and then we know where to help provide somebody with the next level of resource
Hmm.
that's maybe more specific to their industry or has, more robust or depending on what their goals or the pace that they want to work at. I mean, you're doing that to help companies scale 12 times, or whatever. And I mean, we're doing it to help people take good care of their people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I know of a company that they're trying to figure out how to streamline some of what their employees are doing just around like in the accounting side of things,
Hmm.
while speeding up their workflows and but simultaneously thinking about how then are they going to enable those employees to work on something else, because
Right.
as they employ the AI to do these mundane accounting tasks that historically have chewed up so many hours for them,
Right.
like those people, they're at that crux of like, well, yes, their jobs could just go away, but they're thinking of it like, okay, because all of that has been offloaded, then now what do we get to put them onto something else in the company to like
Yeah.
do XYZ that maybe they didn't even think was possible in the past?
Yeah, the ROI of creating efficiencies or the cost of not creating efficiencies. In my business, it's literally the difference of the way that we've grown traditionally is we get more business, we get more client, we have to hire more people.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a company with 50 employees.
right.
I mean, we could scale right now pretty fast. I don't want to have lots and lots of employees. I like being a small to mid sized employer.
Yeah.
But in the past, all of these things that I've been pointing out, that takes time, that takes capacity. So we've been in positions in the last couple of years where we have a wait list. We have clients that were like, we would love to take you on, but we don't have capacity right now. We've
That's
got
on
to
the
hire
HR
someone.
side.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
HR, we've gotta hire someone, we've gotta train them, we're very intentional about making sure they have this really great experience. We don't wanna bite off more than we can chew, and so we're really careful about capacity to take on new clients.
that's
I'm
important.
shaving off 5 hours for somebody not to have to do that HR gaps analysis just manually. That means that we can do more work with the same amount of people
Hmm.
now, and it's really expen I we pay our consultants very well. So it's always this game of like, okay, we could just hire someone, but now how many more clients do we need? Just like any
Right.
business owner, what's our profit goals? What's our ROI? It's
Well,
the
it's always a
business
math
class,
equation,
right?
right? Every
Yeah.
business is a
And
math
so
equation.
being able to incorporate some efficiencies for us, and I imagine other companies, it's not like, well, now what are they gonna do? It's more of what can we add? Not like adding more hours to their week, but by giving them more time back, we can actually take on another client
Right.
and they're not overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're putting something else on their plate, but like they've got the appetite for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
Love
see
it.
that. But also, it might afford them to just have a day where they just don't work as hard because they worked
Yeah.
really hard yesterday.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's okay.
There's the balance. That's the life
That's what
balance
we
that we're
do.
talking about.
Yeah.
Right? 100%. Yeah, recharge the batteries, enjoy their work, enjoy their
Yes.
work environment, right? Like
Yeah.
truly become like more and more loyal to the company because they love their workspace.
Yeah, or do something really cool for a client, like spend the time sending them the thank you card or
Right.
whatever,
Exactly.
and not being bogged down in these administrative, unnecessary tasks that AI can do for them or
Yeah.
along them.
Yeah, it gives them a chance to be personal. You want to know a really fun one, I think anyway, is like buy a bunch of Rubik's cubes. And
Ooh,
and then for those clients that you're really helping through like something tough or something, right? Or developing something or something in HR or whatever, it's, sending them that like little personal note, like we'll figure this out together, like
yeah.
with a Rubik's cube,
Do
you
you
know?
send it already put together or all
Yeah,
messed
you
up?
can get like a whole bunch of these. Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, that's up to you, and then or you could put it in those fun patterns, if you have ever done those or whatever.
Depends on the client.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You might want to just send them one that's like all together already and be like, we handled this for you.
Exactly. Exactly. Or the one that's all messed up and just be like, "We'll get through it together, don't worry."
Exactly.
I love
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Well, this has been fun. This has been great,
Yeah.
Cindy.
Thank you. I love this stuff.
I know. It's so fun. We could go talking all day about it for sure. Yeah. And it's just fun to hear the applications that you guys have done internally and then also externally and how you're really just, riding that wave
Mhm,
into applicability and having it resonate with your company and then the other companies that you're working and serving for. Like
mhm.
it's enjoyable to hear these stories.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Thank you.
Yeah. And so how can people find HR Annie online and
So we have a website, hrannieconsulting.com. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn. You can email me, search us through Google,
all the above?
all of the above.
I love
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, stick around, but thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
All right. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay. Bye.